Well, looks like we got our very first early look at what is going to be known as Masterpiece Starscream version 2. I guess we'll call it's technically the third take at a Masterpiece Starscream. We had the MP Starscream back in the day done by Ishimori, and then they retooled it quite a bit for the version 2 version of that we had for some of the other Seekers. We talked about this in a previous segment. I'll link in the description below if you want to kind of check out that segment. I really break down how that Seeker mold kind of was used throughout the years. But now we got a preview at what's known as a block prototype. These come courtesy of Figure King magazine. We're probably going to get better scans of this in the future, but this is the early block prototype, which uses the CAD designs, which are used to make the figures. And it's not a 100% representation of what the product will look like, but it will give us a good idea of articulation and transformation, which is really, at the end of the day, the most important thing, because we can imagine they'll knock the colors out of the park and the details, but what about the detail of the transformation and the articulation? Again, that original Starscream mold is old, and it's been a while since we've gotten a new Masterpiece. And here we go. I translated some of the sections of the article because I really wanted to see what they're trying to say here. And the general thing that's said across everything is it's a better range of motion. There's a better range of motion everywhere. It says the head moves independently, the legs attach together much neatly compared to the original. Again, better range of motion and posability. One thing that they pointed out here, which was really interesting, is they mentioned how the null ray cannons, on top of turning into the cluster bombs, also have an extra special feature, which is accurate to an episode of the cartoon, where the null rays also become guns that could be used on the figures themselves. Again, something the original Masterpiece was not capable of doing. So a lot of really interesting stuff here. Again, it's the block prototype. There's a lot missing here in terms of surface detail and stuff like that, but it really gives us a good indication at what they're getting at here. And again, the detail, the articulation is really nice. I mean, again, finger articulation, wrist articulation, double jointed hips and everything. Looks for some really nice dynamic poses. I'm just like flipping through everything here. Looks really, really good. No indication yet early on of extras, although they do mention how it does have an ability to attach to what I like to call a Gundam base, which is the typical base that you could attach figures and they could do flying dynamic poses and stuff. Considering all the previous Seeker jets came with one, mostly to just kind of show off that jet mode and do it in the traditional model kit, you know, showing off a jet on a base. But I get a feeling it's probably going to be included again with this one. How it'll look, what will be included with it, we don't know. But it will be probably, if I was a betting man, included for sure. Looks really good. Looks really good. Again, it's really something where, do you want to make the plunge and start collecting Seeker jets all over again? Which is something that some people are probably not a fan of. I mean, you know, if this is coming, that means a Skywarp and Thundercracker. And then does that mean they're going to then retool this into Coneheads? Does this mean that we're then going to get also the obscure characters like an Acid Storm, a Sunstorm, a Nova Storm, a Redwing? I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep with characters like this. Not to mention clear repaint for a Ghost Starscream. It's a big undertaking. It really is. So it's something that you have to really ask yourself, if you're someone that already did the Seeker plunge all those years ago, do you want to do it again? Are you one of those people that did the Seeker plunge with the second version that they did when they retooled the Starscream mold and gave us a kind of a newer mold? Do you want to do it again? Do you want to do it again if you're someone who picked up, you know, third-party Masterpiece versions of this character? I believe Meteor was the name of one of the more popular, the Make Toys Meteor was one of the more popular third-party versions of G1 Masterpiece Starscream. Do you want to then dive into this after investing with the third-party one? It's a big question mark, because buying Seekers is like, it's almost like collecting combiners, where it's you can't just get the one. You got to kind of get the full sets. Unless you're like just a really hardcore Starscream fan, you could just live with that. But there's almost this compelled, need to get the trio of the originals, then the trio of the cone heads, and then afterwards the obscure repaints and side characters based off of that mold afterwards. It's a tough one. And then the biggest glaring thing of all, with what we have to deal with the modern era of Transformers, modern era pricing. Masterpieces have quite literally taking a humongous jump when it comes to pricing. So what would a Masterpiece, version 2.0 Starscream cost in 2020, 2021, when, we were used to, like, let's say, especially like when you think of when the first time we got that very first Masterpiece Starscream at Walmart, and if I remember correctly, it was like $69.99. And I'm imagining, as crazy as this sounds, this thing's going to be like 180 to 200 to maybe even more. It's going to easily double, if not triple, the original asking value, which, again, you've heard my segments on how I feel about Transformers and pricing. I've always felt that Takara and Hasbro recently has just tried to close the gap on the lack of sales by keeping profits at the same number, by just, you sell less units but you charge more, so profit margins are still the same, stockholders are still happy, and the only person that's not really happy is fans and their wallets. So this is going to be another tough one too, is what is it going to cost? Because it's not going to be a one-time thing. You're going to get Starscream for 200, then you're going to get Skywarp for 200, then you're going to get Thundercracker for 200, and heaven help you if one of those guys are some kind of store exclusive or web exclusive, and then that means it's not 200, probably 250 plus an importer, and it's going to be quite the rabbit hole. So let me know what you think about this. We got our very first look at it. It's nice to actually see some Transformer toys instead of just speculating on them through Walmart listings. But let me know what you think about this. Are you excited? Are you going to make the plunge? Are you happy with what you already have? I mean, I just turned my head right now and I look at my wall of Seekers from the official Masterpiece line, and it was a mix of column A and column B. I got that very first, weird colored MP3, as it was called, Ishimori Starscream all those years ago, and then just went down the rabbit hole of every other release that came afterwards, whether it matched, that first version of the body type or the second. I got it all. And part of me is just like, the completist in me is like, you want to get it, bro. You want to get it. How could you not? Look, you got all the convoys. You got 1, you got 2, you got 3. You got to get this one too. So I don't know. Price is going to be a big factor. It's a really tough pill to swallow when Masterpieces start, hitting that $250 to $300 ceiling. I'm not a Hot Toys collector. I don't live in that world, and I feel like Masterpiece is trying to enter that kind of Hot Toys world because of primarily, I think I want to feel it's more so the Chinese market is being a lot more of a primary purchaser of product, and they are a lot loose with their income than, let's say, the Western world or even that of Japan. So it's a big question mark. It's a big question mark right now. Let's see what's happening. Let me know what you think. Are you hyped? Is this a passer? Did you already get your Seeker Jets? Let me know what you think. Who do you think should be the weirdest repaint to come from this? I'm thinking the Action Master Thundercracker, but that's just me. We've yet to get a Masterpiece of that. So probably ain't going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, let me know what you think about this.